to Biology News.
Today, we're traveling to the genetic modification station and taking a look at spider silk producing goats.
What is a spider silk producing goat?
Well, it's actually pretty self-explanatory. It's a goat that is able to produce spider silk through its milk.
Interesting. How exactly does this work?
To make the goat, scientists have found the chunk of DNA of the golden orb weaver genetic code that's responsible for directing the production of spider silk. They then took that chunk of DNA and put it into the DNA of a goat embryo alongside the natural milk-making production gene. And the goats were able to produce spider silk in their milk.
Okay, so they just gave the gene from silk production from spiders to goats. But why was this obscure creature created?
Well, silk-producing goats were created for scientists to gain large amounts of silk from goats, as opposed to only getting seldom from spiders. With spiders, they can only supply a small amount of silk, while goats can give large amounts at a time. Additionally, according to phys.org, spiders tend to be territorial, so when researchers tried to set up spider farms, the spiders killed each other. On the other hand, goats are very compatible with each other and can exist happily in the same place together without it having to be a bloodbath.
Cool. Now we get to go to the scientist sector to learn about the advantages and disadvantages of these animals through an ethical standpoint.
Thank you. Today we'll be looking at the advantages and disadvantages of spider silk producing goats through an ethical lens.
Okay, so first let's look at why this is ethically right to have goats be producing silk, because creating spider silk producing goats can help with several problems. They can be more effective with production of silk because they aren't murderous like spiders are, and they are overall bigger animals, so they can produce more silk at a time than spiders. Additionally, according to phys.org, goats already contain the basic machinery for producing the silk proteins in their milk. A spider can produce way less than a gram of silk per day, while a single goat can produce about 1,000 quarts, 950 liters, of milk per year. Each quart can contain between 1 and 10 grams of spider silk, a significant amount considering 1 gram can stretch 9,000 yards, making 1,000 to 10,000 grams per year, or 9 million to 90 million yards. If a goat produces at its maximum possible for 1 year, the length of silk it made would fit around the Earth twice, with 1,335 miles to spare. If this is only one goat, imagine if it was hundreds, even thousands of goats. Secondly, the uses for spider silk are endless. Some examples are bulletproof clothing, wear-resistant lightweight clothing, ropes, nets, seat belts, parachutes, rust-free panels on motor vehicles or boats, biodegradable bottles, bandages, surgical thread, artificial tendons or ligaments, supports for weak blood vessels. This is practically genius. Making human parts out of a common resource would be extremely cost-effective and potentially groundbreaking for the future. It's nearly impossible to see how this isn't ethical to continue this genetic modification process to goats.
Well, that's where you might be a bit wrong. Nexa, the creator of the spider goat, went out of business in 2009, leaving silk-producing goats unregulated. Now in their 9th generation, it is run by companies that don't know as much as the creators and are making all of the decisions having to do with the goats and messing up our ecosystem. Additionally, according to BusinessInsider.com, the silk could taint the milk, making it no longer safe to nurture their young with their own milk. This makes a shortage of food for young goats. Also, once we use the milk for silk, it is no longer safe for the humans to drink the milk either. This is because of the proteins that are added to the goat. Because of this, producing silk through goats is a waste of resources. Similarly, the milk has to be separated and refined several times, then washed, freeze-dried, and turned into a powder. The powder can then be spun into a fiber or transformed into a coating or adhesive. The milk isn't even kept for human consumption. This way of producing silk is expensive, and there is not high enough demand for silk products to spend that much on an investment. Genetically altering the goats, since silk already has a low enough demand, we could just produce enough using silkworms for a lower cost. On a side note, goat-produced silk is only 20 to 40% as strong as spider silk, so it is not nearly as durable as the natural spider silk. Also, if the goat's milk is tainted and not able to use to feed its offspring, it will not be able to reproduce, and the number of silk-producing goats will increase. While regular goat numbers dwindle, the goat population will drastically fall, eventually leading to extinction. Overall, because making silk is such a long and money-consuming thing to do, and it ruins the goat's ability to properly use its milk ever, it is just ethically wrong.
The fact that silk isn't commonly used is true for the time being, but as technology advances, we will be using a lot more silk for a variety of new things, such as stronger fabrics and possibly even for skin grafting. But you are right about the fact that goats will eventually die off.
Yes, it is very true that silk may possibly be used for more things in the future, and we might not be able to rely on silkworms for much longer. Overall, I think the pros and cons are both very persuading, especially since it could potentially change everything when it comes to artificial working body parts. But for now, I think the fact that goats will probably die out having silk-producing goats be redundant outweighs the pros for now.
Agreed.
Thank you, experts, for sharing your thoughts and knowledge and insight on ethics of genetically engineering goats to produce silk.
That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Biology News.